and toes. I spent 2 hours making sure this technology was going to work yesterday. All right, it looks like we might be on. So we'll just give it a couple of minutes for people to jump in. And this is where Lily is meant to do all of her tricks and look cute. I'm not confident.
Great. It's working okay for me on my phone. So
perfect. Thanks for that, Tay. That's really helpful. Awesome. All right. Well, Lily, I think you need to start looking alive. She's got a little bent snoot at the moment. Oh, beautiful. So we've got Sasha saying hello. We've got Jess with a cute dog on her profile picture, says hello with a love heart. Hi, everyone. We'll wait for some more people to come in. What I'll do is I'll put this view on gallery so we can see everybody. Do you want a treat for being a good girl? Say hello to everyone, Lily. What's this? Say hi. That's mean. I'm not going to do that. Sorry, Dal. All right, we'll just give it one more minute. We've got a few more people coming in. This is really cool. You can literally see people entering. I've never done that before. I've helped out my work a number of times on a few different Facebook Lives, but I've been one of the people sitting on the other side of the Zoom who doesn't know what's happening. So it's weird being the other person, but it's very cool. Alrighty, well, we might get started then. We really value everyone's time. It's a Monday night. Lots of you have been at work. You've probably got dinner to make, so we'll get on with the show so you can get on with your evenings. First of all, my name is Emily. I'm the author of this new crazy children's book that apparently I'm writing or wrote. Can't believe that. And this is Lily, who is probably going to fall asleep in the next 5 minutes, and I apologise for that, but she's not very lively. She is very sweet. And we have some amazing special guests joining us tonight. So I'll just go around the room and introduce all of our wonderful friends. So up in the top left-hand corner, wearing a beautiful red jumper, is our friend Andrea from the Coalition for the Protection of Greyhounds in Australia. Just below Andrea, we have Tay, or Katia, who is from Goldie Design Studios, and she is the amazing human being who has illustrated this book, and I'm fully in love with her. You wouldn't know how much. Just next to Tay, we have Georgie. If you don't know who Georgie is, she is from the Animal Justice Party in Victoria, and she is an absolute greyhound queen and saviour, an angel on earth. And just like Georgie, we also have Mel, who is another greyhound saviour. Mel is from Free the Hounds in Western Australia. And all of these wonderful people are here tonight to, oh, she's gone to sleep already. Look, that didn't even take 30 seconds. All of these wonderful people are here tonight to talk about why greyhounds are such an amazing breed and why they absolutely need our help, not just in Australia, but across the world. So I'm really excited to get into the content. Before I go too far, I do just want to say I'm in Australia here, so I would like to acknowledge the Whadjuk Noongar people as the traditional custodians of this land. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. And of course, our friends here are also from all over the world and all over Australia, and I acknowledge their lands as well. Beautiful. So we are here tonight because we're actually launching a children's book, which is crazy. It is about Lily. In most of the story, she's awake, which is fantastic. But it follows her journey being born as a greyhound puppy in the Western Australian greyhound racing industry, through to experiencing what it's like to race, being literally discarded from the industry, fortunately picked up by some amazing foster carers, and then eventually finding her forever home with me and our cat and my husband, and what the rest of her life looks like. So it's a really, really fun book, and Katia has done the most incredible illustrations. I'm like I cried the first time she sent them to me. I was so excited. So at the end of this Facebook Live, we will share the link so you can pre-order the book, and you can also pre-order a bunch of amazing rewards, which Tay will talk us through at the end. But before that, I think it's really important that we actually talk about the issue of greyhound racing, because it is really prominent at the moment. Lots of dogs are dying. We were just talking about 2 dogs that sadly passed away on the weekend. So I really want us to kind of make sure we're all across the issue. It's not just a fluffy little children's book. There is a reason why we wrote this and why we want to get this out into the world. And so I'd really like to start with Andrea. If you could tell us a little bit about the Coalition for the Protection of Greyhounds.
Thanks, Emily. So look, thank you so much for having CPG here tonight and for doing this amazing project. So CPG knows through its research that younger people have much higher rates of opposition to greyhound racing. So educating kids in this age-appropriate way is going to be a really powerful way to help greyhounds. So I'm just here tonight to share some information about the Coalition for Protection of Greyhounds. I'm just going to call it CPG. It's too much of a mouthful. That CPG sees as the key issues in greyhound racing and how everyone here can get involved to help. At CPG, we like to call the work that we do data-driven advocacy. So we spend a lot of time doing research and analysis to really give strength to our arguments against the racing industry. So we have 5 key demands for the racing industry, and it's our belief that this is the best way to hit the industry where it hurts. And ultimately, if we get these 5 things, the industry is over in Australia, which will hopefully kick it out the rest of the world too. So our first demand is to end taxpayer funding. So there were several results released earlier this year that showed that 69% of Australians oppose the use of taxpayer funding to prop up greyhound racing. And for context, in 2022, Australian state and territory governments gave over $100 million all over Australia to the greyhound racing industry. So we're talking about really significant money here. The research also shows that people will be less likely to vote for a political party that supports funding for greyhound racing. So these are really powerful statistics to talk about if you're meeting people on the streets, talking to politicians, really powerful information that you can use. Our next demand is about stopping unsustainable breeding. So we do a lot of research, and our current research shows that the industry is breeding 6 times more dogs than it can be rehomed. And I guess we all know all the rescues, community rescues in Australia are having a really tough time right now. They're inundated with hounds, and that's just because the industry is breeding way too many. So what we want to see is a cap on breeding numbers. The industry committed to this back when, there was the New South Wales ban. So all we're asking is that they follow through with their commitment. Our next demand is to implement whole of life tracking. So it was really exciting for us to see that Georgie secured that earlier this year. All over Australia, greyhounds are really vulnerable to unnecessary deaths, particularly the puppies who don't race, who don't come into racing, or the dogs who are rehomed by industry participants. So we really need to get a system in place all over Australia to track greyhounds for their entire lives, not just until they leave the greyhound racing industry. Our next demand is to establish independent regulators. So most jurisdictions in Australia rely on self-regulation, so they're filled with conflicts of interest. We just released a report, our first report on the SA industry, and it shows the regulator focused on commercial interests and not the interests of greyhounds. Greyhound Racing SA routinely prioritises the continuity of racing over implementing sanctions that might actually deter other people from committing these offences. And our final demand is to stop building new tracks in Australia. There are no safe tracks, there's just no such thing. Every track in operation in Australia, dogs are being injured, dogs are dying. So far in 2023, Australian tracks have killed 67, although I think unfortunately with those 2 on the weekend, those numbers might be a bit out of date. So that's 67 dogs who've been killed by greyhound racing and nearly 6,000 injuries so far this year. There's no such thing as a safe track. They just need to stop building them. And it also aligns with the taxpayer funding because most of the new tracks are built with taxpayer money. So how can you help? The best way everyone can help is by volunteering. At CPG, we've got 70 volunteers, at least 70 volunteers located all over the world, and they all do as much or as little as they can to help greyhounds. So whatever your skill set or interest is, we can find you a task. At the moment, we've got some vacancies for news release writers, social media coordinators, website management, and obviously our research, our key areas. So we're also happy to support you if you have different ideas or projects and how you think you can help greyhounds and use some CPG's resources. But then we also understand not everyone has time to volunteer. So if you don't have time to volunteer, you can still get involved by using the information that CPG releases. There's a plethora of information on our website to talk to people about racing when you're out with your hound, ring up your MP, ask to meet them and have a chat about the issues. Again, we've got a lot of information we can help you with, sharing social media or signing our petitions or following our campaigns. The main one being right now about getting submissions for the inquiry to end greyhound exports that CPG is doing with Free the Hounds. So yeah, anything you can do to kind of get involved would be really appreciated. So thanks everyone for your time today. Good luck in the prize draw and thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Andrea. And I actually really appreciate that you shared those volunteer opportunities as well, because for some people, like, donating is not possible and you feel like, just writing a submission is not really enough. So really appreciate you sharing that. And I'll make sure to share the link to the website in the event afterwards as well.
Thank you.
I think Mel was going to tell us a little bit about greyhound exports and the issue with that at the moment. Mel?
Yeah, hi, Mel Harrison here. I'm the current president of Free the Hounds. Very much like CPG, we are a greyhound advocacy group. However, we concentrate purely on Western Australia. And we're, I guess, a little bit more on the ground than CPG are. We go to markets, organise protests. We've actually this year we gave a presentation in Parliament, which I believe is probably the first one that any greyhound advocacy group's been able to do, to about 12 Labor MPs. So we're getting I guess, more time to actually speak to the MPs here in WA. WA also is a little bit different in that the actual Greyhound Racing Association itself actually sits within government. So more so than anywhere else in Australia, greyhound racing is a government entity through the whole way through. So it should be therefore sort of easier for us in many ways to be able to end it here. So that's where I guess people or the public can help us by contacting their local MPs. People often, I think, feel that won't sort of do any good, but it really will. It might not the first or the second time, but if you can continue to try and have some sort of discussions or open some dialogue with your local MP, quite often they're not even aware of what goes on in racing. Most people that we speak to still don't even realise that it happens 7 days a week here in WA. Touching on the exports, that was another thing that Free the Hounds had found, was that we're still actually exporting dogs to China, also other places in the world, but China is where we found them and we've located them, and we've actually tried or attempted to buy some back off of the owners, but the prices that they're asking us are just horrendous. But these dogs are sent there directly from Australia and just used for breeding. There is one boy that went over in April and he's already serviced 39 females. And his first service, which is, when they impregnate the female, they're already having puppies. So Australia is just becoming so responsible for so many greyhounds left in a country that has no animal welfare laws. And we've got DNA proof now that they are also dogs that have ended up in the meat trade and have since been rescued. So it really is still happening. People think, the pros like to say that, well, no, they live like kings and queens over there. They don't. I've seen it for myself. They just don't. So we would ask.
What can we do about that, Mel?
Okay, there's a petition. It's not a petition. It's a submission. They're having an inquiry. Georgie's been really vocal about helping us with that, which has been marvellous. So if you could go to either our website or CPG's website, there is much more information on there to have a look at, and you can either use our template or write your own. It can come from anybody. It can just be why you feel that exporting dogs out of Australia is wrong. And it's also for the industry, it's a way for them to be able to remove the dogs that they can't rehome here.
Yeah.
So it's just another way of them being able to bring more dogs into the industry. So that's why they're not so keen on banning the exports, because we've just opened up 2 large channels, I guess, of rehoming our greyhounds by sending them to the USA. And we've uplifted about 345 in the last 3 or 4 months, and one of those have already died. So it's not an easy traveling, or, you know, it's not easy for them to travel to the US. It's a long trip. And then when they get there, they can also be driven all over the country. So we've just really got to start taking responsibility and pushing back on the government to make changes.
Thanks, Mel. And so sharing, doing that submission is kind of the best way to tell the government at the moment that we're not okay with that. And
Absolutely.
you're saying there's a template on the Free the Hounds website that we can use?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also a CPG either, or just email us or message us on Facebook, anything, and we can get those to you.
That's really helpful, yeah, because sometimes when I go to do those submissions, I think to myself, oh, I don't know what to say. So providing a template can be really, really helpful. Thank you for sharing that, and I'll make sure that we put the link into the event as well.
That would be brilliant.
Speaking about, I guess trying to change, the laws and talk to governments and all that sort of stuff, I guess the best person to talk to about all of that is the amazing Georgie in Victoria. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do at the Animal Justice Party?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming along, everyone, and thanks Emily and Lily for writing this important book. It's so very exciting. I'm really lucky to have a role here in the Victorian Parliament. I'm with a party called the Animal Justice Party, and we've been very lucky in Australia to get some of our candidates elected, and our purpose is to campaign in Parliament on an animal protection platform, something that became abundantly clear to many of us animal activists and dog activists was that the one thing we were always requesting through our campaigns was for the law to be changed. And we quickly realised that the best way to do that might not necessarily be trying to change the minds of people that are already in there, but getting the people in there who are doing this work that can explain it to the decision makers and the people that matter. So I think it's probably important for me to say a few years ago, before I was elected to the Parliament, my very, very good friend Kim and her partner Anna, they adopted a wonderful greyhound who I'm sure needs no introduction to many people, named Blue. And he was the first greyhound that I ever met. And it was from that moment that I really realised just how incredible these animals are and how misunderstood they are because of what the greyhound racing industry does to them and how they betray them. And from, I guess, that time on, I've really made it one of my purposes to dismantle this industry and take it down. So my work in the Parliament is I have the ability to, I guess, hold the government to account and to ask them questions. And I've got that foot in the door. I've got a relationship with the racing minister and with the government and the people that matter that are doing all of the things that Andrea and Mel have spoken about. They are giving funding to the industry. They're opening new tracks. And, I have a position on the crossbench where the government often relies on me to be able to do the things they want to do. And that gives me the power to have these conversations with them and get some outcomes and some wins for our greys. So obviously the racing industry is very powerful and there's a lot of money behind it, but inch by inch and day by day, we believe that we are making progress to ultimately end it here as it has been many other places around the world. So I think our main success that we have had so far, it's only been about 6 or 7 months that I've been in the Parliament, but I brought a motion for debate to establish a fully digitised whole-of-life tracking scheme for greyhounds in Victoria. And the reason that we did that was because, as Andrew and Mel have touched on, the industry is indiscriminately breeding these dogs in a way that they simply do not have the capacity to rehome through the so-called industry rehoming programs that are, again, propped up by government funds and are pro-racing. And who's left to clean up the mess is the volunteer-run smaller rescues who are doing it often out of their own pockets or community donations. And we just think that that's not good enough, and that this industry needs to be accountable for every single dog that they bring into this world, not just while they're racing, but before they're racing and until the end of their lives. So through this process, we will get the ability to track every dog from the moment they're born, their racing careers, and up until they die, which is going to bring us incredibly useful data to see where they're going, how many dogs are actually being killed after they finish racing, how many dogs are being killed before they even start racing, which, you know, we have great concerns about as well. So that's been our big success this year, and we see it as a tool that we can use to ultimately pull this industry apart, because the unfortunate reality in my job is that while we have this ultimate goal of ending the industry, we know that's not going to happen overnight, and we need to do it bit by bit. And I just really want to thank groups like CPG and Free the Hounds, because I get to do all of this work on behalf of our greys in the Victorian Parliament, but I absolutely could not do it without the information and the data that they are able to feed through to us all of the time, and to help us make the case. So we have a really good group here, I think, in Victoria and across Australia, of really dedicated greyhound activists playing different but equally important roles to, you know, create a kinder world for our dogs. Just moving into the future very quickly, some of our plans are we're going to be announcing a very exciting campaign in the next few months for greyhounds that I think the industry is going to hate, and that is exactly why we will love it. And we're working on getting more support, as I said, for our volunteer-run advocacy groups who don't work with industry programs, so that they can be independent here. So we're in conversations with the government about that, because they're doing such an important job with no government and no financial support. So there are goals right now. I'm working with Free the Hounds on the export as well, and you know, really hoping that through exposing everything that happens to these dogs, as Andrea and said before, you know, we just had a dog die here in Victoria on Saturday night. Every single time that happens, I think someone's mind changes on greyhound racing, and, you know, this industry, I don't believe it has a social license anymore, and I think it can only stand up the way it is for, you know, not much longer, really. So thank you, everyone, for caring about our greyhounds so much. I know I don't need to explain to any of you just how special they are and how deserving they are of kindness and, you know, justice. So really looking forward to seeing what the future holds for them.
Thank you, Georgie. That's amazing. And thank you for your hard work that you do for all greyhounds. And it's just, I'm constantly impressed every time something goes through for you guys in the Animal Justice Party in Victoria, because I'm just so excited that people actually care. I feel like there's finally change happening.
Yes,
So
and you would be shocked at just how many politicians have greyhounds themselves, which is very handy.
Scandalous. I love it.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of our community rescues and, you know, all of the sad discarded dogs that they have to take care of, obviously that's coming out of donations and fundraising and all that sort of stuff. And that's probably one of the main reasons that I wanted to write this book about Lily, because I wanted to create a profitable product for these organisations to be able to sell and then be able to fund their amazing work. So I've worked really closely with a publisher in South Australia and some amazing printers. So fortunately, we're going to be able to make around $9 to $10 for each copy that we sell, which is going to go towards, of course, funding the amazing rescues. So that's obviously one part of the book. And then the other side of it is helping to change public opinion. I think children are really, really powerful, young people. They're really resilient and they're passionate when they really care about something. And so I think a really amazing book has the power to change a child's mind, and children have the power to change adults' minds. So I've worked really hard with Tay to make an amazing book that children and parents will love. And speaking of Tay, I'd really love if you could explain some of the amazing rewards that you have come up with over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, of course. So we've got lots going on over on the site, which we'll post the link after this live. So the first one is just a donation. So that's if potentially you don't want to buy a book or you want to donate a specific amount, you can do that, and there's no rewards with it, but that's just a good way of helping the cause. And then the next one, which we've called Mini, is a set of 3 phone backgrounds that are themed around the book. So they've got cute little illustrations on. We work really hard on them. They're super lovely. The next one is the bronze, which is a copy of the book. That one's $30. And that will be shipped to you once it's published later on this year. And then we've got silver, which is $50, which is a signed copy of the book and a sticker sheet, which is like this. And it's got little illustrations from, which come directly from the book. And then, of course, the banned greyhound racing text. And I believe that is signed by both Emily and Lily, which is really exciting. And then the next one we've got is gold, which is $100. And that is a signed copy of the book and a personalised pet portrait by me. There's only 10 of those available, so they are quite limited. And they are, so this is an example, you can get your dog in an outfit of your choice. It doesn't even matter if, you know, you own the outfit. If you want your dog in a unicorn outfit of your dreams, I can draw that. And then we've got platinum, which is $150, and that is a signed copy of the book and a limited edition A4 print of the original sketches that I did of the book. So it's something like this, if you can see, and it's got all the little sketches that me and Emily and Lily looked at when we were first deciding how to do the book. And then the very last reward, which is the diamond, is $250. So it's you know, the big reward, and there's only five available. It's a signed copy of the book and then a personalised version of the front cover of you and your dog. So I've done one we call our Chester Cheesy Chester. So this is our version of the front cover with me and Chester. Cheesy Chester finds a home. The story all about his journey from being a rescue onto the sofa. And those are the rewards. I hope you're as excited about them as we are.
Thank you for sharing that, Tay. I'm literally beaming because honestly, your passion for your art is just contagious. And I think, yeah, the ideas that I didn't even come up with any of the ideas for those rewards. That was all Tay. She's so amazing. And I think that front cover is just amazing. So thank you very much for doing that, Tay. I really appreciate you. Just before we wrap up, I am just going to announce our 3 Lucky Door Prize winners. So we had some amazing donations. One was from Happy Boy Shop, which is a doggy bandana. Lily's actually wearing it. You can't tell because she's gone to sleep. But it says anti-greyhound racing on the front. It's a dog bandana, super, super cute. And I think it was a black charcoal cap with the Happy Boy logo on it as well. So that's the first prize. The second prize is the cuddle pillar from Rainy Day. Help me out, Mel, I've completely forgotten. Rainy Day Pets, thank you so much. If you don't know what a cuddle pillar is, go and Google it immediately. Every single dog needs one, not just greyhounds. They're so much fun. That's our second prize. And our third prize is from Free the Hounds. Thank you so much. It's a pink sweatshirt, a little sticker, and I think there's something else included as well, hanging in my room. I'm going to post it straight after this. So we've got 3 Lucky Door prizes. Thank you everybody for coming. So the first prize is going to Lisa JW. So I will contact you after the event. The second prize is going to Florence Sin. And our third prize is going to Wendy. Your surname, I'm really going to stuff this up and I'm so sorry. Wendy Sinmanjuntak. If I'll contact you as well after the event to get your prizes off to you. Thank you so much to everybody for attending. In a second, once we log off, I will share the link to the pre-sale in the event. It'll also be on all of the socials so that you can get your hands on all of those goodies. But yeah, hope you have a wonderful evening and thank you so much to our special guests for attending. Alrighty, bye everyone.